Hello and welcome to the Forbes India Tech for Sustainable Future series powered by Capgemini. The subject of this podcast is an interesting one and it relates to all of us, health and healthcare. Globally and within the country too, the massive healthcare sector is taking giant strides in offering personalized solutions to individuals with specific ailments and a million other things. And it's not just about eliminating disease, but also improving the quality of life. In that regard, technology is playing a vital role in this sector's transformation. To talk about this subject, joining me on the call is Rajshri Damle, the Vice President and Global Head of Portfolio for Engineering and R&D Global Business Line at Capgemini. Hi, Rajshri. Thanks for joining in.
Hi, Abhishek.
Could you offer a brief before versus after comparison by looking at healthcare, say, 10 years ago and maybe 5 years ago as compared to what it is today?
So I would say healthcare has undergone profound transformation. That whole shift in focus from taking care of the sick to healthcare to more about health or managing the health. This has been driven by the need to address this exploding cost of healthcare. So there's a growing aging population. And also, as you know, there is so much of chronic disease management which is required. So I think accelerating the adoption of technology is key to the ability of dealing with these challenges in healthcare sector. I consider around 5 main shifts here. And if you look at the 3, P's of the healthcare ecosystem, the providers, the patients, and the payers, right? How they are impacted and how they have transformed. So providers are essentially all your healthcare providers, clinicians, doctors, hospitals. They are overwhelmed with an increasing demand for better clinical outcomes. So it is not just about giving treatment, but how effective the treatment is. Patients are keen to take more control of their health decisions. I mean, today, we don't rely on just a doctor telling us to do this. We want to research and find out and, take our own informed decisions. Payers are struggling to keep the cost of the healthcare down. It's not just payers, but patients and payers, right? Because with all the therapies getting more and more expensive, people want to keep the costs down. So essentially, I will call out 5 main shifts here. So from a trend perspective, the expensive volume-based model of healthcare, is now moving towards how it can be more cost-effective and more outcome-based. So the healthcare shift is moving just from giving a treatment versus, finding an effective outcome. The second one, which I would call out, is the hospital and provider-centric model, where every time you go to the hospital or the clinic to get treatment, to a more patient-centric model. And it was more about what the hospital and provider can do versus what the patient now needs. So that patient-centric model with patient taking more control of the health management, I think this is another distinct shift. The third one is around the devices, like the medical devices and patient data. So all this have been used in isolation in the past. So you go to a clinic for an X-ray or a CT scan or whatever, but the data or the patient-related data or the information was pretty much in isolation. Now, connected care is bringing more accessibility and cost effectiveness in the healthcare delivery. So a lot of exchange of information, access to the data, connecting the dots, correlating data from different sources is enabled by the connected healthcare. So connected is another very big shift from being isolated to being connected. Other one, which I can call out, is the focus on, earlier it was more about treating diseases with a given set of standard procedures and processes. Now it is how I can personalize the treatment. So now that there is so much information and data available, how do I personalize the treatment using insights from a connected healthcare ecosystem? So that is a natural consequence of having connectivity and information available to take more informed, and personalization is thereby an outcome. And the last one, that med device companies are also moving away from selling purely devices for a particular disease, how they can do the complete disease management solutions. So they want to manage the full life cycle of the disease, right from early detection to treating and managing it towards life cycle. So this is one other distinct shift, I would say, from the earlier days.
And a lot has happened in the last decade itself. You mentioned connected and digital healthcare, which is at the back of data that gets collected. Now, where do we stand here as of today? Because before the recording began, we joked about how some of the applications in healthcare are from the realms of science fiction, where instead of giving a particular medicine to every individual, they could personalize it, as you mentioned, based on 190 million data points that they may collect of that specific person. So you'll only administer just the right amount. To a whole different where, today, eye operations can be done with robotics without the need to have a surgeon's steady hand. Some of it is indeed happening. So let's talk a little bit about connected and digital healthcare. Where are we today?
So let us look at some of the technologies which are transforming the sector. In Capgemini, I'm sure you have heard this before. We call it the intelligent industry, right? Starting with technologies making intelligent products, the connectivity solutions, usage of mobile devices and apps, aggregation of data over cloud, and then leveraging these data-driven insights from intelligent connected products. I think this is the full connected ecosystem, right? And you can also combine it today with AR, VR, and precision robotics and so on, right? In the whole connected ecosystem. So I can give you some examples, and to start with on the intelligent connected products, such as wearable devices, implantables like your pacemakers and ICDs, and basically monitors. And there are a lot of sensors, point of care devices. All these intelligent products, when combined with the connectivity solutions, are enabling what is called as the Internet of Medical Things. This is the key to the remote or home monitoring of patients. So this entire trend of device miniaturization has led to development of a variety of wearable devices and implantables for health as well as wellness monitoring. So at Capgemini, we have co-developed with clients both implantables as well as wearable devices. The other important aspect is the use of mobile devices and health and wellness apps, along with these wearables and implantables, has also grown in a big way. So there's a companion app with many of these, implantables and wearables. And these have helped build a closed loop system of monitoring patient response to therapy, thereby sometimes avoiding unnecessary visits to clinics, as well as getting immediate attention if required. And this has been there for some time now. That shift has happened with some of our clients almost 8-10 years ago. We have enabled that connected care journey for some of our clients in the cardiac space. And usage of mobile technology for remote monitoring, diagnostics, collaboration, education, this is a huge trend. This is the whole global mHealth market. It has, in fact, introduced a new genre of companies challenging the space occupied by the traditional medtech players. And even our tech giants have made a big foray in this space. I think this has been a very interesting journey, and cloud has been a very key technology in this connected healthcare journey. Almost all the big life sciences companies have built their own cloud-based digital platforms for aggregating patient data and the information from the ecosystem. So connected healthcare platforms are not just enabling healthcare data consolidation, but enabling collaboration, remote care, telemedicine applications, thereby providing effective, cost-effective solutions for healthcare needs.
Right, and some of them are can also be low-hanging fruits. For instance, you made a reference to wearables, about how the data that gets collected from the smart watches or even your mobile apps that keep a track of number of steps to your blood pressure, for that matter.
Yeah.
There's a brilliant book, I chanced upon it, Why We Sleep, by Matthew Walker. He's a neurosurgeon, he's a doctor, and he's written about why it's important to get those 7.5 to 8 hours of sleep, and what happens if you don't. It's a little scary, but there are he makes a few recommendations there. He talks about how in the US you have this flu vaccine every year, which you have to
Right.
take to to hopefully not catch a flu that year, and every year the strain changes. And he talks about how, if we can use a simple algorithm to know that the effectiveness of the vaccine is the highest the day after you get sound sleep. So all you need to do is, if you haven't slept soundly the night before, then don't schedule that appointment, he says. And it will bring the percentage of folks catching the flu anyway down by a great extent. So it doesn't require millions of moving parts. It could still be, simple solutions tackling very generic problems across whether it's in India or elsewhere. This is my cliched but favorite question, and I've been asking this to a few of your colleagues as well, is about adoption, Rajshri, in that, healthcare has always been at the cusp of innovation. How do you ensure that even the small clinics, big hospitals, doctors in remote areas, they conform to an established practice of, let's say, storing data in a particular format, so that when you're visiting any other doctor for a second opinion, perhaps all it needs is a few clicks for him to know your recorded history, instead of you cranking out an email or telling him the history all over again. It's not to say that it will not replace these physical interactions, but where do you see that happening, or how soon, with your experience in Capgemini? That was possibly the longest question I need to
No, so I will try and answer it in two parts, because I think there are two questions there. One is like, what is the challenge of adoption in this industry, and how we have played a role in enabling that. And the other about data and interoperability, and how there can be continuity of that information, which can really smoothen the whole process of exchange of information. So I'll kind of address it in two. So when you look at tech, adoption of tech, it's always very interesting. There are early adopters, and then those who are sometimes very reluctant and may not want to experiment or try new techniques so easily. So I think we deal with both. It's a very common practice with our clients in the med devices space to work closely with what they call as the key opinion leaders, or KOLs, to explore the needs of the therapies or products before launching the new product development. So not just in the beginning, but many of them continue to provide inputs through the development and launch cycle. These are like co-developed along with some of these key opinion leaders. And they're quite keen to partner in the experimentation and evangelization of new therapies and techniques. So this is something which we have also tried and implemented this with some of our client engagements here in India. We have often engaged doctors, clinicians in a new therapy or solution design to provide information and insights. And they have helped with sometimes, providing the ground truth data, which can be used to validate the AI algorithms we have developed for, say, some of the clinical decision making. We have conducted workshops for local India market inputs for product definition. So also engaged doctors and empaneled doctors and clinicians for product validation. So I think there are several such kind of mechanisms to engage early in the life cycle. And then there are also those later in the life cycle approaches, like, how we can design AR, VR based training simulators, and physical experimentation labs are set up sometimes by clients so that they can showcase their new products, therapies for launch. So, that's again another long answer for the long question. So to the second part of your question, connectivity and all that. So there are several standards for exchange of information. And I think many countries have these aspirations to set up these data exchanges. So like, for example, if I do a MRI in a particular hospital, I don't kind of need to carry the physical copy, but it is available in the common repository, which can be, exchanged with another doctor I'm going for an opinion. But I think we are still, getting that interoperability and all those aspects of data sharing. I think that's an area which can do a lot more. I believe apart from the more centralized setups like the NHS in UK, where it happens quite seamlessly, I think that it's a long way to go for us in other parts of the world.
Does it help that there are various startups trying to disrupt it, or this particular segment of the market where they try to peddle softwares, they sell it to the doctors, and even the small clinics can then just, key in their prescriptions or the diagnosis there?
There are data exchange formats, and of course these things help, because I've seen that even my local dentist now has a system where, like, all the scheduling of appointments, all the past data related to my treatment, all is available. So it's very seamless setup. But I think it's a step in that direction. But going beyond the clinic, that is the aspect which is still needing some work.
And all of this is all the more relevant in the times that we live in, where the bulk of interaction with doctors may happen telephonically, or meaning you will not visit a doc unless, of course, it is necessary. One way is to prescribe over WhatsApp, but the information is lost. It's just like a piece of paper. The other is, I think, those who have embraced this way of collecting data with certain standardizations that you just mentioned might find it more useful. Talking about standardization and also innovation in that, in the category of medical devices, because that is one thing that has a direct impact where you can touch and feel those devices which make a significant impact on the life of the patient. What are some of those tech drivers in the medical device industry?
So we already spoke about connected healthcare and technologies like wearables, implantables, mobile cloud connectivity. I think these are the base, platform today for anything we do. The other new things which I see, I think AR VR is becoming a very big technology, sometimes combined with precision robotics to enable efficiencies during surgical procedures, and you kind of refer to that as an example. I think the area which has the biggest, I would say, potential today is this whole data-driven R&D. To create an impact on the healthcare world, I think leveraging the huge amount of data that is aggregated from patients and their ecosystem, it is critical to enabling better clinical outcomes. So with so much data, there is huge opportunity to all stakeholders, doctors, medtech companies, insurance companies, to infer meaningful insights. So the role of analytics, edge intelligence, and AI as an enabler to drive efficiencies and improve clinical research, and thereby better clinical outcomes, is very important. We have done several programs where we have implemented these AI and analytics-based solutions along with image processing to drive, effective clinical decision-making, saving time sometimes from, a diagnosis and making it more accurate. And one more trend I would like to call out, and this is, it's another key development. It's the emergence of what is called as the software as a medical device or digital therapeutics. We see solutions like SAMD, that's how we kind of refer to it, used for lifestyle management, a complementing drug therapy for chronic and lifestyle diseases like diabetes, heart disease, respiratory conditions. So reducing, routine follow-up visits to hospitals, and I think creating a sense of well-being. This kind of solutions are going up. In fact, some of the software-only digital therapeutics applications are also being used to eliminate the need for medicine in certain cases, or treat behavioral or psychological disorders such as ADHD. So we have worked in this space for several clients in pharma and medtech space, not only to build these SAMD or digital therapeutics solutions, but also build the digital platforms for these solutions. So it's like combining those connected healthcare setups with even the apps solutions for this.
Right. And in the interest of time, Rajsi, if you could take a crack at this one, is that how do you see healthcare evolve in the next 5 to 10 years?
Whatever we talked about so far is like it's going there and going to stay. AI will have the biggest, I would say, play in the days to come, and even on the connectivity pieces. How we can accelerate the remote care and telehealth solutions, and something like 5G as a technology, how it can really impact this telehealth space. In fact, in Capgemini, we have explored several use cases as part of our research and innovation initiatives to support clients on leveraging 5G and edge intelligence. So one of our teams has piloted ultrasound imaging solutions for connecting remote diagnostic centers over a 5G network to an expert in an urban diagnostic center for remote diagnostics. And this is like live streaming of high quality 3D, 4D video data in real time to enable diagnostics by a remote expert. And when you integrate this with AI, AR, VR, and harness the edge intelligence architecture, it can completely revolutionize how the healthcare is delivered. I think there are several such examples which can be put to good use to improve the healthcare delivery. But I would just say that we are living in exciting times where we can really make a positive impact to a cost-effective healthcare delivery to masses. So tech-enabled transformation of healthcare industry to intelligent industry is the game changer.
And I think if there is a way we could do a follow-up podcast in a year, we might be surprised as to what new advancements have already hit the ground by then.
Yeah.
Well, Rajsri, thank you very much for your time on this podcast.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Thank you. And this was Forbes India Tech for Sustainable Future series, powered by Capgemini. You can find this podcast on ForbesIndia.com and your favorite podcast catchers, Google Podcasts, Apple, iTunes, Spotify, and Stitcher.